Hi, this is Claire, and I'm going to show you some other wrapping techniques. So the first thing I want to show you is what I'm making, and I'm wrapping some agate, blue agate stones using a spiral design, and the spirals are made separately, and I'd like to make 3 of these. So the first thing I'd like to show you is that I have been designing the shapes of these spirals, and I've been working with a more triangular shape, and these are some of my designs that I've made, and there's some more of the designs, just experimenting with that shape. And then I have gone through the process of planning this whole process, and I've modified it as I've gained some experience. So all of these stages are important parts of your communication in jewellery making. So now this is what I'm making, and I need to make 2 back and front plates for each bead, and I'll need 8 centimetres of wire to do that. And to go through the centre, I've made a loop with 32 centimetres of finer wire. So there's different gauge wires, slightly firmer wire for the front and back plate. And here's the bead that I'd like to wrap. Now, ideally, the beads would have a flat front and back. It's hard to get them perfect. This is a little bit more triangular, but it just means I've got to fiddle around with it a bit more. Any bead should work for this process as long as it has a hole from the top to the bottom. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to make one of these plates. And I've made 3 here. None of them are identical. So you will need 2 pairs of pliers for this, a round nose pair and a needle nose pair that meets at a flat point. So starting from the inside, form your spiral from the inside. So there's my spiral. And now I'm going to go for a more triangular shape with this. So my bend will be, the first bend is going to be, it's not a circle that I'm going for, it's a sharper bend. So if I were looking for a more circular design, I wouldn't want a clear bend. So again, after the point of bend, I bend it across, and you can see I'm getting a triangular shape for my spiral, and I'm just working around that central point that I started on. And now my last bend, and then using the round nose pliers, I'm going to form the loop for the top. Now that looks a bit big, so a bit long, so I'm just going to trim a small amount off, pointing towards the paper so that it just doesn't bounce all over the floor. It's for a bit of safety. And now in the opposite direction to the spiral, I'm going to form a loop at the top of this. So just with the fine end of my circular pliers, I find it better to hold it, I've formed the top. And as you can see, I have a spiral that is a little bit more triangular, and that's what I'm looking for. So just looking at the ones I've made, this one's probably not the one I want. That one's a bit open. I like those 2. They look pretty much the same, and I'm going to put them in opposite directions when I thread them on. So this is the threading phase. Now the way I did this was I cut 32 centimetres of thinner wire that I can manoeuvre, and I threaded it around a pencil, and I pinched it just with some pliers. I didn't pinch it too hard because I want to be able to move that around a bit. So the next stage is to thread my two plates on. Remember, I want them to spiral in opposite directions. So I'm just dropping them down there and seeing if they are. No, they're spiraling in the same direction at the moment, so I need to take one off and just turn it over. And now they are spiraling in opposite directions. So taking those two ends from the top of the bead, I'm threading both ends through that bead. Through they go. Now keeping it loose because I do want the plates to drape down and I want to have some room for that because I want one clearly to be on the front and the back, and I have to be a little bit careful to finesse that. So at the base now it's quite loose, nothing's too tight at this stage. And I've got plenty of wire to play with here. So I split that just with my finger and I'm going to thread it through the plates. So a bit of a tangle at the moment. Right, it's better. So threading it through the bottom of that first plate, and that has rotated around. Now just bringing it down and pulling it a little bit firm. You can see that is at the front of the bead now, and I've just caught it there. It's not fitting exactly, but I can adjust that later. Now with the other one, I'm just bending it and I'm going to thread it underneath the other plate. Trying not to bend my wire too much, straightening it out and pulling it down to take away some of that loose play before I bend it. Just be careful that the front and the back plate don't start meeting up because that's not the look I'm going for. I do want one at the front and one at the back, even though this stone is not perfectly flat and disc-like. It's definitely a bit more triangular. Now I straighten those wires. I can give them a bit of a pull with the pliers just to make sure there's not loose. A lot of the tension can be taken up at the end. And now I'm going to twist them over each other. Now, when you twist wires, I want each wire to twist over the other. So it's like a two-way twist, not just one twisting around the other. They need to both twist, and you need to work with an angle that's at least 90 degrees between the wire ends. And keep an eye they are twisting over each other. That just makes a firmer join, and I'm just twisting along there. Now I only need to go for about 2 centimeters, and I'll just check that it is already 2 centimeters. So won't be twisting anymore. I'll just tighten that with my pliers, holding the two ends and twisting the stone. Right. Now I'll trim off the excess because that can be used for other things and we don't want to waste it. Pointing it to the table, cutting that off. Okay, now at this point here, we're going to roll this end of the wire up using round nose pliers to form a decorative bottom of the pendant. So tucking in the sharp ends that I've just cut to the center, I'm rolling that up into a spiral, keeping it flat and rolling it up to the end of the bead, like so, squeezing it a bit so it's tight and the wire will hold its own shape. As you can see, there is a clear front and a clear back to my spiral, and you can see that triangular shape. Now at the top of this, taking your needle nose pliers which have a flat join. I'm not going to use any of the platings, it's just simply on the loop of the fine wire, twisting that up to create some tension. And that is the bead completed. You can certainly bend the decorative plates a bit more so they fit the bead. You can just bend them on a wooden block. You can add some more tension. There's plenty of tension on this, but I can work using my round nose pliers by creating some tension, twisting that a little bit more at the bottom just to make it a little tighter, remembering to twist it in a direction that the base plates are encouraged to be separate, the front and back plate are separate, and that's quite strong with lots of tension. So now I have made 3 pendants, which I plan to hang with some recycled jump rings I've dismantled from another neck piece, and I have made a central jump ring which I can use to hang each pendant from the chain that I make. So what we're looking at here is hand making our pieces and using recycled objects. So perhaps I'll show you what this ends up like after I've put a bit more work into it. But thanks for watching. Bye.